What if I told you that the world's most celebrated young tennis star, the man who has already conquered Wimbledon and the US Open, is hiding a secret that no one expected? A revelation so personal, so intimate that it doesn't come from journalists or paparazzi, but from the lips of a family member. That is exactly what happened when the sister of model Brooks Nader confirmed the rumors. Carlos Alcaraz is no longer single. For years, fans have followed Alcaraz for his explosive talent, his boyish smile, his unmatched energy on court. He was the golden boy of tennis, the player who seemed married only to his racket, focused solely on breaking records. But the world was shaken when Grace Nader, Brooks' sister, openly admitted at New York Fashion Week that Alcaraz was indeed seeing Brooks. The words fell like lightning into the sports world. "He is the man of the moment," she said with a playful smile. "I'm dying to meet him. He's a hottie." It wasn't just a casual comment. It was confirmation. Confirmation that the most promising athlete in the world had stepped into a very public relationship with a woman who carries her own legacy of glamour, fame, and controversy. Brooks Nader isn't just a face from glossy magazines. She is a woman with a past that raises eyebrows, ignites debates, and creates questions no one can easily answer. And this is where the story becomes more than gossip. Because for every great champion, the line between private life and public image is thin, fragile, and constantly under fire. Alcaraz isn't simply playing a match on the court anymore. He's playing a match against expectations, against the microscope of media, and against the human desire to know, can love and legend truly coexist? Fans erupted with mixed emotions. Some celebrated him for finally showing his human side, for daring to love in the midst of his career peak. Others questioned his judgment, whispering about whether Brooks, with her glittering yet turbulent past, might be a distraction. In cafes across London, in pubs in Manchester, in households from Birmingham to Edinburgh, the question echoed, will this relationship define his future, or destroy it? The intrigue only deepens when you look at who Brooks Nader really is, because behind the stunning photo shoots and glamorous runways lies a story of passion, heartbreak, and relentless reinvention. A story that may reveal whether Carlos Alcaraz has found a soulmate or stepped into the very storm that could one day swallow him whole. And so, as the cameras flash, as social media explodes, and as whispers travel across the tennis world, we are left with the one question every fan is asking. What happens when the brightest star of the court meets a woman who has lived in the brightest and darkest corners of fame? Before the world began whispering her name alongside Carlos Alcaraz, Brooks Nader had already lived a life filled with glitter, heartbreak, and public scrutiny. Her story reads like a modern fable of ambition and reinvention, yet beneath the bright lights lies a trail of broken promises, unanswered questions, and dramatic turns that could either prepare her for a life with a global superstar or doom it before it even begins. At just 22 years old, Brooks walked down the aisle with William Durhair, an established publicist more than a decade older than her. To outsiders, it looked like a fairy tale. The young model marrying a man of influence, stepping into a world of security and prestige. But the fairy tale cracked. By May 2024, their marriage ended in divorce, and the glamorous photos were replaced with headlines dissecting what went wrong. Some said the age gap was too wide. Others hinted at the pressure of Brooks's rising fame. The truth has always remained behind closed doors. But Brooks did not retreat. Instead, she became more visible than ever. In June that same year, she turned heads by appearing at the wedding of Olivia Culpo, Miss Universe 2012, on the arm of Prince Constantine of Greece. The tabloids had a field day. Was she moving in royal circles? Was this the sign of a new love? Or was it simply another chapter in her high-profile social life? Whatever the case, Brooks had stepped firmly into the spotlight, and the world was watching. Her love life continued to fuel speculation. Soon she was linked with Russian dancer and choreographer Gleb Subchenko, whom she met during Dancing with the Stars. For a brief moment, it seemed like Brooks had found stability in a man who shared her passion for performance and the stage. But by April, that too had ended. Another romance, another split, another question mark. To critics, this pattern painted Brooks as a woman who thrived on attention, who collected famous names as if they were trophies. But to her supporters, she was a survivor, someone unafraid to take risks, to chase life with open arms, even if it meant crashing against the hard walls of reality. And now she has stepped into perhaps the most demanding spotlight yet, being the partner of the world's #1 tennis player. For Carlos Alcaraz, this choice is more than a matter of the heart. It's a statement. By aligning himself with Brooks, he is willingly stepping into the narrative of her past, into a story that includes failed marriages, royal connections, and the relentless gaze of the media. And for fans, the question lingers in the air. Is this the kind of love that strengthens a champion, or the kind that tests every fiber of his discipline? Because history tells us something powerful. Athletes at the top are rarely judged only by their trophies. They are judged by their personal choices, their relationships, their private battles, the shadows behind their triumphs. Federer was defined by his enduring marriage. Agassi was haunted by his turbulent romances. Beckham became a global icon, partly because of his partnership with Victoria. And now, Alcaraz stands at a crossroads where love and legacy intertwine. The tension is unmistakable. Brooks Nader, a woman shaped by glamour and loss, and Carlos Alcaraz, a young man carrying the weight of a nation's hopes. Together they form a story that is as fragile as it is fascinating. On the courts of Flushing Meadows, the spotlight is merciless. Every serve, every gesture, every second is recorded, immortalized, and dissected. And in September 2025, Carlos Alcaraz once again stood at the very center of it all. But this time, the story was not only about forehands and trophies. It was about history, money, and even politics. The numbers alone were staggering. By winning the U.S. Open, Alcaraz did not just collect his 6th Grand Slam title. He walked away with the single largest prize purse ever awarded in tennis history, $425 million. To grasp the magnitude, compare it with Wimbledon or Roland Garros, figures that once seemed astronomical now pale in comparison. The first round alone offered nearly $100,000. Semi-finalists collected over $1 million. And the champion? A payday that reset the entire economic hierarchy of professional tennis. For Alcaraz, the check symbolized not just victory, but his position as the face of a new, richer, globalized era of the sport. Yet what should have been a celebration of athletic excellence turned into something else, because high above the court, in a private box surrounded by cameras, sat the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And when the final point was played, when Alcaraz collapsed in triumph and the stadium erupted in a roar of joy, Trump's reaction was anything but joyful. The cameras zoomed in. The world saw it, a slow clap, a distant stare, no smile, no emotion, no warmth. While 23,000 fans at Arthur Ashe Stadium leapt to their feet, the most powerful man in America seemed detached, cold, almost disapproving. Within minutes, social media exploded. Was it a gesture of disapproval, a political message, or simply a moment frozen in time misunderstood? The hashtags starting to Trump clap and cold reaction trended worldwide. Headlines screamed that the victory of a young Spaniard had somehow become entangled in the machinery of American politics. And then came the moment of truth. Carlos Alcaraz's response. At only 22, he could have lashed out, defended himself, or stirred the fire. Instead, he chose calm. "I've seen the controversy," he said quietly. "But it was just a moment that the cameras captured. People can misinterpret it. For me, it's nothing." In those words lay the wisdom of a man far older than his years. He refused to let politics stain his triumph. For his fans, it was a revelation. He was not just an athlete, but a statesman in the making. Someone who understood that in the modern world, a champion is not only measured by titles, but by composure under the glare of global scrutiny. His refusal to escalate the story and turn the controversy into proof of his maturity. Still, the images lingered. The debate continued. And in living rooms across Europe, including Britain, people asked, why did Trump react that way? Was it personal, political, or simply meaningless? No one could answer for certain, but the power of the moment was undeniable. It showed that in today's digital age, a single gesture could hijack the narrative of an entire sporting event. And yet, through it all, Alcaraz remained untouchable, richer, more celebrated, and more enigmatic than ever. His win cemented him as the symbol of a new generation, not only dominating tennis, but standing at the crossroads of sport and media and politics. Every great era in sport has its defining rivalry. Borg had McEnroe, Federer had Nadal, and now Carlos Alcaraz has Jannik Sinner. Their names are already carved into the chronicles of tennis, not only for the trophies they chase, but for the way they push each other to the edge of human performance. Yet in the U.S. Open 2025 final, that rivalry reached a breaking point, a clash of talent and spirit that left one man triumphant and the other haunted. For Sinner, it was another brutal night. He had faced Alcaraz 15 times, and though he had tasted victory, the balance was cruel. Only 5 wins, 10 defeats, and 4 losses in their last 5 finals. At Wimbledon, Sinner had stolen the crown, raising his arms on grass as the king of the moment. But at Flushing Meadows, the Spaniard struck back with precision, dismantling Sinner in 4 punishing sets. The scoreline told the truth. 6-2, 3-6, 6-1, 6-4. It was not just victory, it was domination. Sinner admitted it with a raw honesty rarely seen among champions. He has no weaknesses, he confessed. The things I did well in London, he did better here. He was cleaner, sharper, especially with his serve. I'm proud of myself, but he was better. These words, spoken through clenched teeth, revealed not defeat but a painful acknowledgement. Alcaraz had become his shadow, his wall, his tormentor. Yet what makes this rivalry irresistible is not only the battle of rackets, but the battle of minds. After the match, Sinner promised to change. I must become more unpredictable. Even if I lose some matches, I need to take risks. It was the voice of a man who refuses to surrender, who understands that to beat a chameleon like Alcaraz, he must evolve or be left behind. On the other side, Alcaraz's coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, offered the insight everyone was searching for. He is a chameleon, Ferrero said. Ask him to change mid-match, and he adapts. In training, he improves in days what others need months for. This adaptability, this relentless hunger for reinvention, is what separates Alcaraz from the rest. He is not simply stronger or faster. He is shape-shifting, constantly rewriting his game until no opponent can read him. The comparison was inevitable. Ferrero himself said it. This rivalry could become the new Federer-Nadal-Djokovic, the saga that defines a generation. And perhaps he is right. Because as Alcaraz and Sinner lock horns again and again, fans are witnessing not just tennis matches, but chapters of a story that may stretch over decades. But for now, the truth is undeniable. Carlos Alcaraz is at the summit, richer than ever, loved and questioned in equal measure, with a girlfriend whose past stirs curiosity and a rival whose obsession fuels the fire of the future. He is no longer the boy wonder. He is the man carrying the weight of destiny. And yet, one question lingers in the air, unanswered, echoing in the minds of every fan watching. Will the storms of love, politics, and rivalry make Carlos Alcaraz even greater? Or will they one day break him? Because history is cruel. Legends are made not only by victories, but by how they endure the shadows. And in the story of Alcaraz, the shadows are growing as quickly as the light. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the untold story of Carlos Alcaraz, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next video. Your support helps us create more dramatic, storytelling-driven content about the biggest names in sports. Share this video with friends who love tennis and leave a comment below with your thoughts. We'd love to hear your voice.